More anti-Trump protesters out disrupting the GOP frontrunners' rallies this week after massive protests shut down his main event in Chicago last week. Hi, everybody. I'm David Aslan. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. With a Trump rally planned in Phoenix in just a couple of hours, liberal groups spending their time and resources to help organize protests at his rallies. But some here say the right to protest should not silence a candidate's right to free speech. So who's right and who's wrong? Let's go in focus and find out with Steve Forbes, Rich Karlgaard, Elizabeth McDonald, Sabrina Schaefer, John Tamny, and Bruce Japsen. Steve, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, well, what's happening is a form of political intimidation. It's political pollution, David. The First Amendment guarantees you free speech, even if you're a candidate. It's one thing to protest outside a rally, but to disrupt a rally, that's Nazi Germany, fascist Italy, has no place in America. And what Trump should say at these rallies, if somebody starts to get disruptive, politely have that person removed. It's not right. Free speech trumps everything.
Bruce, what do you think?
Well, full disclosure here, I was actually invited by a real estate developer friend of mine who said he had an extra ticket to that Chicago rally, and because I reserved the right to jeer, I did not want to get hit in the head with a beer bottle. So I did not go. But I think if law enforcement knows, and honestly, it's a diverse neighborhood where this protest was at. I didn't want to go because I thought something would go wrong. And I think law enforcement should shut these things down because the rhetoric is so high, and if they hear of things that are going to happen, they should contain them so people don't get hurt, because his rhetoric is so inflammatory.
Rich Karlgaard, that puts us at the mercy of these people who want to shut down. They don't want free speech. They want to shut down free speech, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and they learned this in our university system where free speech has gone out the window, where you can shout down commencement speakers and get them disinvited.
Right.
And these protesters think this is par for the course.
By the way, Rich, we're looking at pictures of that University of Missouri. She was a professor of communications, if you can imagine, saying that we got to muscle somebody to prevent free speech from taking place. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so, MoveOn.org, Black Lives Matter, they think this is the way the country works. Steve is right about this. But look, Trump uses some inflammatory language, and so he's living and dying by the same sword.
What do you think, EMAC?
I think Trump is using menacing language. I think he is missing a golden opportunity to look presidential, and I wish he would take that up. But, you don't shut it down, and I think it's wrong. We see that with the Black Lives Matters movement going after Bernie Sanders, trying to shut down his speeches there. I'll tell you something, it could backfire, and here's how it backfired in the 60s when, if you agreed or not, I agreed with the Vietnam War protesters. I was against that war. But, the silent majority didn't like the mayhem. They didn't like the shutting down of speech, and they voted in Nixon. And so that it can backfire on people who may not, want the people who are elected into office.
Right, but Sabrina, so far, it's just shutting down speech. As EMAC mentioned, it's not just Trump. Bernie Sanders had one of his rallies shut down by these protesters.
Sure, absolutely, David. Look, politics isn't polite, and I don't believe that there's ever been this golden era of political civility. But I do think that people are saying, hey, the political rancor has become so intense, it's so deafening, that we simply can't have political discourse. We can't have a free exchange of ideas, and that's really the cornerstone of our democracy. So if those protesters are preventing us from having any kind of meaningful conversation about the issues that we all care about, then I think that they need to be removed.
Well, John, again, the protesters and the universities were starting this, kind of changing the definition of free speech, changing the definition of the First Amendment, saying that hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment.
Well, yeah, it's interesting here. They only like free speech if they agree with it, but they've got this idea that we have a right against being offended in the United States, and that is wholly opposite what we're about. Presidential candidates whom we may not like should be allowed to speak freely. So should obnoxious college students. And I would add, so should rich people like the Kochs, and big corporations have every right to speak freely. If not, we're not the United States.
But, Steve, it's not just speaking freely. A lot of these protesters actually want to shut down free speech. That's going over a line, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. In England, they used to have a tradition of heckling at a rally, and the candidate would put the heckler down if he was any good. But shutting down free speech on the campuses that we've seen, they've stifled free speech there. You say something somebody doesn't like, by golly, you can be even expelled in kangaroo courts. So this is a rot that's been around for a while. We've got to stop it now.
And Bruce, the idea that these professors are coming up with their own definitions of what free speech versus hate speech, do we really want a group of professors deciding what free speech is?
Well, I don't know about that, but it seems to me when it comes to Trump, you know, I believe that everyone is entitled to their own set of opinions, not their own set of facts. And so I think when Trump blathers all this inaccurate stuff out there, that's what gets people riled up.
But wait a minute,
so,
are you saying that you're gonna be the definer of what is right and what is wrong?
No, I'm not. But we have a rich. Wait a minute. How many of us cheered on the gentleman who stood in front of the tanks in Tiananmen Square?
All of us,
I think that's Ed Source, and that's what people are doing here with Trump. He's Chairman Mao.
Wait a minute. In the case of Tiananmen, we were cheering somebody standing up against a government, against a tyrannical government. Trump is not the head of a tyrannical government.
Trying to exercise
He's a tyrannical
free
person.
Speech.
Steve, he's a tyrannical person.
Tiananmen Square, they're trying to exercise free speech, and they're suppressed. They're trying to suppress free speech here. Part of the same animal. We don't like either one.
There's not a moral equivalency between what's going on in our political system and what went on in a tyrannical communist system, is there?
No, there's no moral equivalency. Look, getting back to this, what is this root of evil that is suppressing free speech across the country? And it goes back to our universities. I would appeal to any graduate of any university where you see this happening, don't donate to your university.
Oh, right. Wow. Sabrina, go ahead.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I would just add that I think it's very easy, and I am firmly on the side with, I think, almost everyone on this panel, but I think it's very easy to see sort of a select group of people and assume that they represent everyone, whether we're talking about a university or we're talking about people who are, shutting down a political speech. I think we have to remember that there are still a lot of people who do want that free exchange of ideas, whether we're talking about college campuses or, voters, and I think it's important to keep our eye on them as well.
And John, let me just let John come in, because John, you're a huge defender of private property, as well you should be, and a lot of these speeches are in places that are paid for by the candidates. I mean, isn't there a right of the person who pays for a speech to be able to defend his right against protesters who want to shut down a speech that guy's paid for?
Absolutely, and I think in this case the burden of proof is on the left here. They love free speech until it doesn't conform with their view of the world. And so if it's rich people, if it's corporations, if it's someone obnoxious like Trump, they want to shut it down, and that is not the United States.
And to your point, David, I think all the parents out there watching should take another look at the tuition costs they're paying for these colleges where they're suppressing free speech and they're not properly teaching the constitutional right to the First Amendment.
You can major, by the way, in protest courses these days at $60,000 a year. I don't know if the parents out there want to do that. Thank you, gang. Appreciate it. Good discussion. Coming up next, what Hillary Clinton's saying about coal workers that have them worrying, and some here warning more U.S. jobs are going to go up in smoke because of it. They'll explain. Coming next.